say. So, okay, I allowed the question, but I perhaps was in error in doing that. I apologise. I misheard it. But clearly, the minister has no responsibility for what a backbench member might say, none whatsoever. But it's not difficult, in my view, to question the minister in a manner that does come within his ministerial responsibilities. The Honourable Part2.
Mr. Speaker, as Minister of Māori Affairs, does he agree with Tau Henare, who last week had an email in which he called on his caucus to let national MPs cross the floor and vote for the Māori seats, and today is reported saying, "Why should I sacrifice my career when other people aren't?" The call has been made by the Minister of Māori Affairs that we should cross the floor. Maybe he should resign.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr. Peter Sharples.
I have congratulations on the email. I have no wish to put people in that position. In fact, I'm calling on a conscience vote means that people don't have to cross the floor, and that's why I'm going to do that.
Point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable Peter Dunne.
I'll defer to the member if he had another question. I'd like to raise it at the end of the question.
The Honourable Part2.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Māori Affairs, is he aware of the statements made by his fellow Māori Party colleague, Hone Harawira, suggesting that the last word we had from the PM was that he was supportive of the seats and that he had found a proposal that would prevent Rodney from throwing his toys out of the cot? If so, when was he informed by the Prime Minister that he had in fact changed his position?
The Honourable Dr. Peter Sharples.
I'm not aware of... I've never heard that, and I'm not aware of the comment on it.
The Honourable Part2.
Does he think it is consistent for the government, with one hand, to retain the elected Māori seats here in Parliament and with the other deny Māori local representation on the largest city council in New Zealand?
Order on this. That question is asking the minister specifically about something outside his ministerial responsibility.
Was that the extent of...
And I've allowed the minister. Point of order, the Honourable
Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Māori Affairs has a portfolio, Mr. Speaker, with due respect, that pervades all sorts of situations in this country. And certainly there are not many things he is not held account for, which Māori people, as the other people in this country, are responsible for.
I'll hear the Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, we went through this earlier in the year at quite some length. But quotes here from the Minister, where he has told the House, "I have voiced my displeasure at the taking away of those seats, and I've done so as the Minister of Māori Affairs because I have a responsibility to represent the views of Māori people." The Minister himself, by his statements in this House, has opened up the ability for the opposition to question him in this portfolio area because it is clear that the Minister of Māori Affairs' remit goes far wider than just narrow portfolio boundaries that maybe the Minister of Transport, Education or Social Development might ordinarily have.
I accept the point the Honourable Member makes, that obviously Affairs has a pretty wide brief, and there are a number of supplementary questions I did allow from the Honourable Part2 because, in my view, they came within the standing orders with respect to the responsibilities of the Minister of Māori Affairs. But the last question asked specifically about reorganisation in Auckland City, specifically about matters to do with reorganisation, that's which the Minister does not have responsibility for. Order, and while standing orders simply only permit ministers to be questioned on matters for which they have responsibility, and clearly the minister does not have responsibility for that issue, for the reorganisation of Auckland City.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Part2.
Mr. Speaker, does that then mean the duty that the Prime Minister has set for the co-leader, Dr. Sharples of the Māori Party, and that leader of the ACT Party, Rodney Hyde, on its way in relation to the city composition of the council, is null and void? So your statements?
Forgive me, the Honourable Member has lost me. I cannot assist.
Point of order.
Point of order will be heard in silence. The Honourable
Mr. Speaker, I do not want to lose you. What I do want to bring is some concise understanding to this debacle. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has said, through edict of his seat, he's directed the co-leader of the Māori Party and the leader of the ACT Party to get their heads together and sort out something for the council composition as ministers of the Crown.
Order. Points of order have got to relate to order in the House here. What the Prime Minister may have asked Rodney Hyde and Dr. Peter Sharples to do is not a matter for the order of this House. Now, look, I've allowed the Minister, the member has asked questions that do fall, in my view, within the standing orders, because the standing orders these days do permit opinion questions to be asked. Questions that seek opinions can be asked, and some of the questions the member has asked, I believe, have fallen within standing orders. But to ask the Minister specifically about the reorganisation of Auckland City is not within his ministerial responsibility. And I think the House has spent quite sufficient time on this matter. I'll hear the point of order from the Honourable Peter Dunne.
Speaker, the point of order that I wanted to raise actually related to the point that you've just alluded to. Many years ago, you weren't allowed to seek an expression of opinion from a minister in answer to a question. And I seem to recall, and you will too, sir, that during the reign of Mr. Speaker Wall, the device emerged of asking ministers whether they had received any reports on a particular topic as a way of getting around seeking an opinion from a minister. So you would ask, has a minister seen a report on reported comments of so-and-so? Now, sir, that we have a more lenient view of seeking opinions in the course of questions, it may be timely to look again at the device of seeking reports or seeking advice, because it's to some extent redundant in that there is the capacity in certain circumstances to seek a more direct opinion of a minister. So I just wanted to raise that point, sir, whether it's within your jurisdiction or whether it's something the Standing Orders Committee should look at. But it's been of concern to me for some time that we are getting these questions that are really exploiting the device to the maximum when, as you said yourself, there are other ways of asking the question which comply with current standing orders.
It's a very interesting point that the Honourable Member, the Honourable Peter Dunne, has raised, but sadly the device of has the Minister seen any reports relates to more than the old ban on seeking opinions and asking questions. It relates to asking questions about matters that are really not very marginal in terms of ministerial responsibility, often to do with policies of a previous government or the opposition. And by the device of has the Minister received any reports is a way of enabling ministers to comment on, to talk about those kinds of matters. So I doubt whether the House is likely to let go of that device, but it's something that certainly is within the bounds of the Standing Orders Committee to give consideration to. I think we should now move on to question.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order, the Honourable Clayton
Sir,
Cosgrove.
I don't wish to labour the debate, but I'd like to ask you to make a considered ruling, because there are 2 points, I think, that are germane. One is that the Chief Opposition Whip, the last question to Parakura Horomia went to the point, as you quite rightly said, of Auckland representation. And the Opposition Whip pointed out that the Minister has written at least one Cabinet paper on that issue, firstly. So I'd like a view from you as to how you cannot be responsible for an issue that you wrote a Cabinet paper on. And secondly, sir, he has also, as the Chief Opposition Whip has said, widened by his own quotes his definition of his ministerial responsibilities as they pertain to Māori affairs. And the difficulty I think we have is, given those two issues, the first being specific, a Cabinet paper relating directly to my colleague's question that now he is somehow not responsible for, and secondly, wider questions around Māoridom or the Māori affairs portfolio, which he himself, in historical quotes, has widened his own definition of responsibility. We have grave difficulty in sort of defining what is ministerial responsibility and what is not. I fail to see how you can pen a Cabinet paper on a specific issue and then stand up and say you're not responsible for it. And I just invite you, if it's more efficient in time, sir, to consider that and come back to the House.
I appreciate the point as Mayor, the Honourable Simon Powell.
Speaking to that point of order, with respect to the first point, as members opposite will know, from time to time when Prime Ministers require groups of ministers to go away and look at an issue, and whether or not responsibility accrues to a decision-making process in that context is quite different to ministerial responsibility accruing to them in this forum, where the standing orders are quite specific about what individual ministers have responsibility for.
I appreciate the contributions of both members, actually. I think both order. I'm ruling on the matter. Both members, I think, have made very useful contributions. I thank both the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove and the Honourable Simon Power.